Hey guys, this is Pat from Rain Country. God is good all the time, even when you have to turn a wrench on the pickup every now and then. So what I got behind me here is a Toyota SR5 1994. So I went to get in it the other day and noticed that it was hard to start. So you turn the key, all the power goes from the battery to the starter, but nothing happens. You hear it clicking. So obviously the first thing I did is I checked my battery. I went ahead and put it on the charger because I hadn't started the truck in a while, and charged it up, put the key in the ignition, the same thing happened. So I repeatedly tried to start it and it kicked over because I knew I was having this problem before. Every now and then I would try to start the truck and the starter wouldn't kick in. So I'm thinking, uh-oh, you either got a Bendix, I think that's what you call it, that's that engages the starter to start, turn over the engine, is not engaging the flywheel. So anyway, I went, well, it's time to order up a new starter. And so that's what I'm doing today, is I'm changing out the starter. So first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and disconnect the battery. So why disconnect the battery, you ask? Well, that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. The reason why is there's this big heavy wire goes right down towards the starter. And as soon as you disconnect that battery, that heavy battery cable from the starter, if that thing hits ground, you're going to possibly destroy your battery, and you're going to get a light show underneath there, and you got no place to go. So anyway, I'll take all this stuff off of here. This cable right here is the main one that I'm concerned about, so we're going to make sure it is nowhere to be found. I'll put the wing nut back on this bolt so I don't lose it. So first of all, I'm sitting underneath the truck now, and just to give you an idea of what we're going after on the old one, we'll be replacing this piece right here. This is the starter. So there's going to be this connection here that I'll have to remove, and then also the battery connection on this nut. What I'll do is I'll put antioxidant on this to keep it from corroding. Here's what the back side looks like. So this is going to sit in the truck about in this position here. So we're going to have to remove two bolts, one on this side of the flange and one on this side of the flange. This one here is up high and it has threads. The bolt comes in from the back side and this bolt comes in from this side. So here's the front of the truck. There's the radiator up above us. And we're going into the passenger side, and right there, this is the connection for the battery right here. And so again, we removed the leg off of the battery, so this has no power to it. You can see this cover. I cleaned that off. Now you can get to the nut that holds the hot lead on to the the starter. So that's the bolt right there that we have to remove on the bottom side of the flange on the starter. The other thing that we have to remove is this connection right here. Now I went through all the trouble to pull that off of there so you guys didn't have to see me wrestle with it. But underneath there you can see this little detent right here, this little square piece right here. You have to push that in and then pull it out. It wasn't that difficult. Now the first thing before I pull that bolt on the back side is I'm going to go ahead and remove that B positive wire and bolt from the starter itself. Okay, that's going to be a 12mm socket. Okay, so all of our wiring is disconnected. I have a 14mm deep socket, and I believe that's a 6-inch extension. And then I have this wrench that has a flexible head on it. It has a little bit of articulation back and forth that way. And then the handle has a slight bend in it. That comes in real handy for this kind of work. sometimes. So I got in here and actually used a little bit of a crowbar, a little bar I put on the very end of the handle, and that helped me to break that loose. Sometimes I find it easier if I kind of wiggle this around while I'm trying to turn it. It helps to loosen that nut to where I don't have to stick the wrench back on there. It works quite a bit of the time. Okay, we got that bolt. We're going to be using that again. Okay, now we're at the back side of the truck looking forward on the passenger side. The bolt that we're looking to remove is that one right there. Not this one, but this one. And I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because I can't have you guys and me in here at the same time. Okay, now we have the starter loose. You see that's moving around in there? So I'll take this wiring harness and I'm going to pull it back from the top back so that can give me some more room to where I can hopefully get the starter out. So this wire and the power lead back here, and I'm going to go ahead and try to pull that back and then give me some more room so I can try to manipulate the starter back towards me. Okay, as you can see, I got the wires pulled back. I have the small wire here, and there's a ground wire that goes onto this part of the flange on the starter, and I have that tucked in back behind there, so that gives me a little bit more room. So I need to set you guys out of the way again so I can see if I can get that starter to come out this hole right here. Okay, what you see here is I pulled the back side of the starter out and up towards the top of the motor. It pulled the flange back this way, and now I should be able to drop it straight down. I'll have to set you guys aside again. My battery's dying on the phone and I can't see what I'm doing. So anyway, we'll be back. Okay, I got the old starter out. Don't know how much of that you've seen. I don't think you've seen a whole bunch. I couldn't get you guys in there. I needed two hands to pull the old one out. But what I'm doing now is I'm applying a little bit of antioxidant on here, and that just kind of helps to keep things from oxidizing. So I'll put a coating on the washers and on the lug. I'm looking over both of the starters and to see if there's any differences. They look like they're comparable. They are shaped differently a little bit. Hopefully it'll fit in here. This collar is longer than this collar, but it doesn't look like it protrudes into the starter any farther than this one does. Teeth look the same. We're going to go ahead and give it a try. I'm going to go ahead and use the nut off of the old one. It seems a little nicer because the locking nut is actually on the nut itself, so there's less parts for me to drop when I'm underneath there. So I'm just going to verify and make sure that it fits onto the stud. It does. Winds down nicely. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to attempt to put this in the same way I took that one out. Starter's going to go into here, across here, and up into there. So the side of the starter that doesn't engage the flywheel, when I came in I had it facing up, and now I'm tilting, I'm kind of bringing it back into where the flanges will meet up with the flywheel. Okay, I don't know how beneficial this video was to you guys. I just couldn't figure out a way to get the phone in here and my hands as well. But a recap of what I've done is this wire here has the lug for the heavy 12 volts coming in to start, and I had to take this wire and shove it back behind where the starter is in order to get the old starter out. So this wire and this wire here I shoved back, as well as this little this ground plate and this bracket had to be pushed back out of the way in order to get the starter out. So I fished all this stuff back through and hooked it up. This is a 12 millimeter nut, and these are 14 millimeter nuts. And it took a little bit of work to get this one lined up here. I took the screwdriver and kind of squared up the starter with this hole. I pushed the back side of the starter up so I can make the flange and the connection onto the flywheel housing parallel, so I can line this nut up on the threads. And I put this in hand tight, and then I went to the back side and tightened up that top flange and plugged all this stuff back together. Now I'm going to go see if it'll start after I hook up the battery. Okay guys, now we're topside. Now we'll put the main battery lead on first. Okay, the moment we've been looking for. Oh, first shot. Okay, I hope some of that was beneficial to you guys. It is a little tricky to do. There's not a whole lot of room to work in there. Here are the tools I use. I use this for a little bit of persuasion to break the old nuts loose. This little wrench is pretty handy. It's had an articulating head on it, so you can get a little bit better position on those bolts underneath there. Use this as a pointer. Also to hold the starter up a little bit so I can get that bolt perpendicular to the flange and get it started. And just various, I got 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter, a swivel, short and deep sockets. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys out. It's starting to rain on me, so I need to be quiet and close out this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.